major complaint or the major challenge that a lot of home buyers have is the property prices. And I'm sure as a developer, you're aware of this. People believe that prices are too high. What informs these prices? How do developers arrive at these prices? We are live. Welcome to Bricks and Banter by Ramosoflagosrealty. So we launched, we've had the podcast for a while, but we did a rebranding and a relaunching, and it's gone from the Ramos podcast to the Bricks and Banter podcast. And joining me today, not in our studio, by the way, we did build the studio. Joining me today in his office, because we'll find out why we're doing this in his office. But joining me today is Prince Ediri Otomewo. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
You sure?
You tried. But I've been crucified.
You have just sent me home.
I'm telling you.
Prince Ediri Otomewo is the CEO of Propati Radar, one of the youngest and most prolific developers in Lagos, Nigeria. And he has graciously joined us as a guest on the podcast today. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So I'm going to do a cliche. You know, they say if Mohammed doesn't come to the mountain, the mountain will carry the podcast equipment. Okay, let me not get carried away. Thank you so much.
I think that's not necessary. We're here.
It doesn't matter. But I have to thank you especially because today was your sister's wedding.
Yeah.
Right. And we had initially scheduled this for 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yes.
But, you called and moved it to 3 and you could easily have cancelled, but, So thank you very much.
Ramos is family.
All these things that make me they touch. Right. So I'm going to go into it. I want to start by, so I did my preliminary research on you and I saw your Instagram handle, Oracle of Lagos. Where did that come from?
Oracle of Lagos. So it came from, when we started this business, you realize that you make certain projections and they come true, come to pass and all that. So, and I studied, I just slept one day and that name dropped. I was just looking for a nickname, stuff like that,
Oracle of Lagos.
So I thought, so why not Oracle of Lagos? Oracle then Lagos, because I'm based in Lagos,
right?
So I'd like people to know me as that, someone who is able to predict stuff in Lagos, especially with property, related to property,
right?
And then it does come to pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you don't go to visit an oracle empty-handed, right? So I brought you a gift.
Oh.
So you don't go to see an oracle empty-handed.
In my place, I need to pour this,
Are we going to do that now?
No, this
not now. No. Yeah. But yeah, this is the standard gift for oracles.
Thank you.
Nigeria. So I'll just put this inside. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for having us on the podcast. Great. So, how long have you been developing for?
Development 4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
Right. And the reason I ask is I went through your profile and you studied social sciences.
Yes.
And then went on to do an MBA.
Yes.
At Anglia Ruskin.
Yes.
At what point did you decide to, go from business management and all that and just go into property development?
Okay. So, when I was working, I worked in different companies,
right.
Like 3 companies before I started my own business. I always believe that you do more than you're paid. So the companies I worked were engineering companies. So we're doing construction, not the house construction. So working with major companies, oil and gas companies, Seven Exploration and Production, Midwestern, big companies.
Right.
So we're delivering projects for their plants, outside Lagos and all that. So I started as a business manager, but eventually, because of my role in participating in delivering projects,
right?
I was also a business man and a project manager.
And you didn't study project management.
I just did one or two, courses in project management.
Right.
So sometimes when you know too much about something, you just
it becomes a responsibility for you.
So that's what happened. So I started managing construction related works and all that, for the company before I left. So when I left and I entered to join real estate, I also thought, okay, I think I can start building. I did some, learnings, and consulted a lot of people, read some books, and then when I was ready, I started.
So what was the journey like? What was the beginning like? What mistakes did you make when you started?
When I started, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I made any mistake because I learned.
Oh, that's why he's the oracle. Oracles don't make mistakes. Hello.
No, but seriously, I remember when, so I had the developer friends, I had friends who were developers, so I used to go sit with them. I have engineers as friends.
Right.
So we talk a lot, and then I'd read a lot, I've handled projects. So it wasn't really a big deal for me.
For you.
It's just coming into that sector. It just was big for me.
Okay.
But if it's in terms of delivering the projects,
you already had that experience.
Yes, I had the experience. The only challenge I had, I would say, it's not a mistake, are the workmen. Workmen are very difficult to work with. Very. When I say very.
Right.
So if you find the right ones.
I mean, it's hard to find somebody who's going to take your project as their own.
Yes.
Right.
So, and a lot of times they're just after the money. They get your money and then they leave you high and dry.
Right. So going into property development, what was the driving force? What was the motivation? Were you trying to solve a problem or fill a gap, or was it just a financial decision?
Well, for me, it's very personal. A few years ago, I watched my family house demolished.
Wow.
By the government. And,
in Lagos?
Not in Lagos, outside Lagos.
Wow.
It was not a nice place though, but they took possession of the land.
Wow.
We're thrown out, and I remember that day I wept.
Wow.
And I told myself, in the presence of God, that one day I'll start owning lands and building properties. Fortunately, my mom and my parents are not alive today, to see this.
Right.
But that's what I wanted to do. So when the opportunity came, it just happened.
And you just
I just started doing it, and I realized it was actually what I wanted to do when that incident happened.
Wow.
We were thrown out under the rain, and it was not a very good situation and all that.
Were you compensated? Was your family compensated?
No, there was no compensation.
Even until now?
No, we're at fault. The land was wrongly sold to them. So it was just a settlement land and all.
Right.
So there's no compensation in those kind of lands.
So now that you're building, you definitely make that take those extra measures to make sure that your lands are,
Yes, of course.
You don't have any issues.
No, we don't have issues with land. Well, Manile.
Right. Great. I mean, that's a very touching story. It's really sad for anybody to.
Yeah, let me just say this: if you so because of the experiences I've had in the business, before I started developing, I did a little bit of agency work. Went around, did a lot of checks and all that, land sales, purchase, and all that. So I understand how lands are bought. In Lagos particularly, all the families, I've dealt with all the families in Lagos, so I can point you to any direction you want. So once I do a check on a land and I tell you it's okay, trust me, it's okay.
Okay.
Because we have the right people to call, and you can make that verification right immediately
to the source.
Yes.
Wow. So we're going to add Omonile to Oracle. Prince Ediri Oracle Omonile of Lagos. Right. But going into the major reason why we're here, we want to talk about property ownership, particularly in Lagos, because we're in Lagos. And the major complaint or the major challenge that a lot of home buyers have is the property prices. And I'm sure as a developer, you're aware of this, right? A lot of people complain, relative to the living conditions or, the perception of Lagos, right? people believe that the prices are too high. What informs these prices? How do developers arrive at these prices?
Well, it's a good question. A lot of people have been asking this question. What informed the prices? Two things. The cost of the land. If you buy a land expensive, you would, I would say three things, so three things. First, the cost of the land. Second is the cost of construction. The cost of materials are high to affect the price of the land. Now, the third, which I actually remembered it because I know some people borrow money, is the cost of funds.
Interest rates and all that.
Yes.
Right.
So the cost of funds. So if you borrow money to build a project and the cost of building that project is expensive, the money you got is expensive, the land is expensive, my brother, he does do the maths. The house also will be expensive.
So I'm gonna talk about, you said cost of land, right? I feel like there's so much concentration in a certain area of Lagos, particularly on the island. There's so much concentration of developments here. So don't you think that if developers started looking into other areas in Lagos, other areas on the mainland, don't you think this would help bring these prices down? Because there's so much competition here, there's so much competition in this part, on the island part. So if you took that to somewhere else, don't you think that would bring the prices down?
It will bring the prices down, but I want to ask you a question. If I take you now, right, to somewhere around Ekpe.
He wants to set me up.
Right?
That's it settled.
No, I take you to somewhere
This
around
is my
Ekpe.
podcast.
Hold on. I take you to somewhere around Ekpe. Right? The government is doing a fantastic job. They're trying to, open up the road and, put up infrastructure that will make life easy now. But now life is difficult, right? Because the government is working. So let me I take you to Ekpe and I build something very lovely. And I ask you to come and buy.
He's setting me up.
Would you buy? Even rent, or would you rent?
So Ekpe is
so now
let's not go to Ekpe.
Yeah, so now, right?
We have this election go to
people. Hold on. People live close to where their businesses are. I have nothing wrong with Ekpe. I have no issues with Ekpe. After all, we have our estates at Eleko, the Aurora city.
Yeah.
So we're trying to build a very beautiful community there for those people who want something outside the busy city, and who want to earn money. That's what we're doing there. But the point I'm making is not everybody wants to live there because their place of work or their business is not around that area.
Yeah, but
the concentration is this way.
You're going far
because they are near to their business. And that's why we are here to provide. If they move that way, my brother, I'm moving that way.
But we're going far. There are people who live on the mainland and come to work on the island and vice versa. So why are people not building in those lesser? Let's not go all the way to Ekpe that you mentioned, right? Because we know that's the place that's going to open up. It's going to take probably decades to open up. But there are places,
decade though. Not decade.
Really?
Yes.
By next year?
I can tell you that for free.
By next year?
No, maybe not next year, but not decade.
I mean, we're selling in Ekpe too, so...
Remember, I'm Oracle, so don't argue.
That's not a bit. You see, when you bring gift to oracles, right? But do you accept that there is a problem in terms of property affordability?
I think there's a problem in terms of property affordability. It's why check our motto.
So what are you? I was going to talk about that. Your website, your landing page. Making luxury affordable.
Yes.
How are you doing that? What is your contribution to making luxury affordable?
Okay, so let me give you this instance. When I wanted to do a luxury project, I had the option of doing a luxury project in Osapa.
Right.
For instance, everybody was building Osapa. Osapa was just across the road. So all the big boys live in Osapa. Then I came to Ologolo. Ologolo was more like, just a place. Just no luxury house, no nothing. Right? And I thought to myself, what if I did something very nice, Osapa standard, drop the price, because the land in Ologolo is cheaper than the land in Osapa. Wouldn't the buyer, be interested in buying. So a lot of people discouraged me. Don't do that. Take it to Osapa. I said, no, I'll do it here. I was the first person to do a luxury project in Ologolo. I reduced the price and I sold. It was a risk because
what if
nobody wants to come here, right? Because Ologolo used to be like this, So my point is, what we have been trying to do is to take the samples of properties, the quality of properties that are done in those hybrid areas,
right?
Bring the same kind of finishing to places where normally you find regular houses and sell almost at the regular price. That's what we're doing. So we add a little bit of effort in making the houses look very luxurious. So when we're buying, most times when people buy our houses, they don't do any finishing. They just get their chairs, and move into the house.
But I'm talking about the point I'm really trying to make is, in terms of, I understand that, you're building something very high standard, but it's mostly determined by the location. You take it to a location that's not as expensive as, that helps drop the price. But, I'm speaking of someone in my position right now, right? I'm a young guy, single guy. If I wanted to purchase a property, I wouldn't go and buy a 5-bedroom with a cinema and a pool and terrace, and I don't need that, right? So there's a heavy concentration of developments in a certain type of property, right? So everybody's building luxury mansions and all that, but what about people who just want 1 beds or 2 beds or smaller units, studio units and all that? Why is nobody looking into that? Because I feel like if we have more of these properties, it would be within the affordability range of middle income earners, people who are not multi-millionaires. What do you think?
Well, every business has a model, right? And you set out to do what you think will be profitable for you.
So the driving force is profit.
It's both ways. It's profit and creating accommodation for people.
Right. But what's the point in creating accommodation for people who can't afford it? Because we've had luxury house, people who build luxury, and they've been on the market. If you go to Mega Mall, you see houses that have been on the market for 2 years. 5-bedroom houses with pool, beautiful houses.
They eventually get sold.
Come on. That's not the point, right? I mean, if you travel abroad, if you go to the US, for example, we have a homelessness pandemic. You go to San Francisco, there's homeless people on the streets, right? And they're empty luxury houses. So if we build houses that people can afford, don't you think we're giving more people opportunity to own homes?
Yeah, you're giving people opportunity to own homes.
And then you're also making a profit as well.
Yes, but there's a but to it. When we started, I told you that there are 3 factors that affect the cost of construction. And you won't say because you want to create something affordable, you run at a loss. Everybody's doing business, right? If the land is very expensive, how many units of 1 bed or 2 bed would you put on the land, right? That would be profitable for you, such that you can make money, repay your debts, and then make some profit.
Right.
So those are the things that affect, the affordability of houses around this area. So if you really want affordability, I think there's what you call urban migration. If where you're staying isn't working, you move a little bit further. It's a reason why people come to work from another city. Why? Because in those cities, there are more affordable homes. The reason why there are more affordable homes there is that there's no demand.
Yeah, the
so
population
when you
is less
have
dense.
demand, is less there. So when you have demand, definitely it will the price of whatever it thinks that the demand is going after will increase. It's a law of economics. You get? So we can't really have that kind of affordability around this area. I don't know what affordability means to you, because some people affordability is 50 million.
Because I know. Yeah. So 20 million houses, 20 million apartments.
I have a 38 million naira apartment in Aja.
That's almost double. I say 20.
Hold on.
20.
Hold on.
It's 20 I want.
I have a 38 million naira house in Aja, which we did. Yeah. Right. We still have
I think we did a video there.
Yeah, I did a video there. Yes.
A 2-bed.
A 2-bed. Yes. We still have like 2 units or so left. In my mind, I would think that place would just like that
sell off.
Will sell off. So now it now tells me that the demand is more towards the places where people are buying for 150, 180, 60 million, stuff like that. So as a businessman, if I want to do something else, I want to build another apartment, right? I don't want to do it in the area where there's demand.
So from your experience, you're saying that the more expensive houses sell out faster than the more affordable ones?
Yes.
So that you people have been lying to us then, because everybody saying there's no money in Nigeria. So who is buying the expensive houses?
No. There's no money in Nigeria, but there are a lot of people who have interest in Nigeria.
Right.
Yes. When you say there's no money in Nigeria, there's really no money in Nigeria. But there are a lot of people who have interest in Nigeria, who are buying properties in Nigeria. So these are the people who are buying in those locations. But it doesn't mean that people are not buying in this other location. So what I think that would happen that will make affordability easier is a partnership with the government.
Oh yeah, I was going to go into that.
If we get very good partnership with the government, right? So a company like us, we're willing to do the projects to make homes affordable for people. But you can't spend your money that you borrowed from the bank and now do affordability for people. The bank will not understand that language when they're asking for their money back. My brother,
right.
They won't. Do you understand? So I'm using the bank as an example. Most people use their own money to do projects, but I'm just using it because wherever you're doing a project, I always advise people consider the cost of funds. Assume that you're taking the money from the bank. Even if the money is yours. Right. If you were to take the money from the bank, would they give you at 20%, 26%, 30%, So you have to consider that cost of funds whenever you're doing your maths,
Right. So I'm going to come to the private partnership, the partnership with the government, right? Because I feel like, we put too much on the developers. Right. So every small developer is selling at this. But then, developers are businessmen, right? So they go into the business and make money. They're not obliged or they're not obligated to provide affordable houses, right? But in what way do you think a partnership with the government, what sort of support? Because you never know who watches this podcast now. Some people might just open YouTube and just...
I bet you should see me.
But what kind of support would the government give to developers that would, help them create houses that average Nigerians can afford?
Well, I think you start with land. Start with land, you start with infrastructure. If the government is able to make certain land available to us at a particular price, I'm not saying give it to us for free. Give me a land, I'll pay for it, but at a reduced cost.
A subsidized
price for the sole purpose of doing this. So I know that, okay, look, the burden of buying the land has been reduced by half, right? Then the second one is infrastructure. So part of the reason why developers are now going into some places is because of infrastructure. Right. There's no road. You can't go and build a project. People won't even come and buy. Imagine I build something in a place where you want to come and you have to wear your rain boots.
Nobody's going to go there.
Nobody's going to go there.
It's happening in Agongi now. Nobody wants to buy in Agongi anymore.
People are buying Agongi.
Right?
People are buying. Our project there is sold out.
Really?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, we'll take that out and edit.
Yes. People are buying in Agongi. Our project there is literally sold out. Agongi is a very beautiful environment. You just have...
But then that was the main objection, the road and the flood.
Yeah, the road and the flood. But the drainage has been cleared.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a good road.
I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, they have a good road. The problem is the drainage. And this is all part of what I'm saying, the infrastructure. Right. So we don't have good drainage system in Lagos, and which the governor is trying to do. So he's trying his best. If you look at certain areas, they have tried to open up the drainages, and all that. They're trying their best. But what we're saying is that they can do more. Once infrastructures are in certain areas, trust me, we'll go and build. And lands are cheaper there.
Right.
There are parts of this Lekki where you can see cheaper lands to buy. But you won't buy there because nobody's there. There's no road leading there. Nobody will want to go there. Even the guys who know it's affordable, who want to go and buy it. Right? Because you can't come out of your house. You can't go into your house. So why buy the house?
Exactly.
So once there's infrastructure in place, once they're able to for the purpose of creating affordable homes, they're able to cut the price of land, make certain lands available to us, and say we're going to do road to this place, go into this place and do this. Even if the margin is not great, the fact that you are putting a roof over the heads. Of people, it just makes all the difference.
So I was thinking you would say something in the lines of favorable interest rates, import waivers and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I think that also affects the prices of these properties, because cement, the price of cement today. I was hearing something about them reducing the price of
cement.
We're
not importing cement.
No, I'm talking about the ones.
We're not importing iron.
But in construction, you import.
We're not importing sand.
So what do you import?
Just the furniture and the sanitary or electricals. Those are minor.
Right. So do you get waivers on those items?
The government doesn't control those things, so it might be difficult to get waivers on them, because those things that it's demand that drives the price, and then the inflation in the economy may increases the price of things. Like iron, for instance, has almost doubled since I started this project. Started developing, and all this because of inflation. So you really can't control those. That's why I didn't mention them. If the inflation drops and the dollar rate is okay, the prices will come down too. But in as much as there's high inflation, you can't really put a waiver on that, because those are private businesses. Right. Just like you can't come and tell me to cut down my price of house because you're trying to do a waiver. So you can't really tell them that. Okay.
We learn every day. Right. So we're gonna go into the concluding part of the interview, right? And I'm gonna ask you what you would change given the opportunity. What would you change in the real estate sector? Without mentioning names, please. We don't want to be sued.
Really, what I would change is the way we build. Right? I just feel like some people don't build, well.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would if given the opportunity, right, I would like to, because for me, we need to be able to build things that we can live in.
Right.
Nothing is perfect, and our workmen especially are not perfect. Trust me, workmen, they mess a lot of people up big time. So sometimes it's not
within
their fault,
control.
Not within your control. But if we can build right, I think it will be to make a whole lot of difference.
Do you have a developers association?
That a few associations here and there, but not.
Do you
not
say
very
this to them? To the developers that build well.
And I didn't hear that.
Okay.
You go tell your father that
we're going too far.
That build well. What do you want to tell? Even he said I want to build well.
Right.
And another thing I would like to do also, really deeply want to do, is to be able to put a roof over people's head. I would like to do that. Like, if we get to that stage, I feel like a lot of people, if you give them that small nudge, that push, they should be able to have a roof over their heads.
Right.
Especially families and all that. So people are trying. Nigerians are working very hard. If you make it a little bit easier for them, why it's difficult to make it easier for them is because of where we're getting our money from. Mm-hmm. But if there's some sort of partnership with the government, it could be a little bit much easier on people, and you have much more house owners, than people who are paying rent. Because now we have more people paying rent than their own houses.
Right. So, I was going to ask you this earlier, but then it got buried in conversation. So, I don't know if you know about multi-family homes in the US.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Right. So, it's like, from the outside, it looks like a single unit, but when you go inside, it's like divided. It's sort of like the shared apartments that we have here.
Yes.
And shared apartments go off the market.
Rental.
Yeah, rentals, they go very well. Do you think that if developers started building, properties that sort of like shared apartments but independent, right? Do you think that would help get more people into owning homes?
By standard, really, if you want to build a project, the government asks you what kind of residential quarters you want to build, how many people are expected to live on this. Some of the shared apartments they're not according to the law, because you're supposed to have one single house. It's supposed to be for a family, right? And then that house is broken down and you have like 10 people staying there. You're overburdening the land, for instance, right?
Okay.
So that's, for one, you need to see if the government will give you approval for something like that. Number two is, most of us Nigerians like our private space. We don't like to bump into anybody. People want to buy houses. In fact, they say, apartments. It's apartment owner, I want a duplex. Wow. If it's a 2-bedroom duplex, or something like that. Why some people don't mind, right? So, but a lot of times we see people, they want their own space. So if you do a shared apartment and you're selling, it moves for rental. But the idea in Nigeria, I don't know how. It's something we'll explore. How it can be implemented.
But if people really, developers really think
but trust me, if you put that for approval, it won't fly.
Oh,
yes, it won't fly.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been a very fun conversation. I have learned so much, and I'm sure that whoever our audience watching and listening have learned as well. We're coming in from the agency side. We don't have all the answers, and that's why we've come to meet our Oga, the Oracle and Omonile of Lagos.
Omonile is your own. I didn't say I'm Omonile. That's not my title.
So the Oracle of Lagos, because he's one of the biggest developers. And as they say, water and Ogogoro, they get the same color, but it's all they do the same work. So thank you so much for the conversation. And if you have enjoyed the conversation, please share your thoughts. Subscribe to our channel, because we're going to be dropping hot podcasts with big players in the real estate sector every week. So you don't want to miss out on that. And please share, comment, tell us what you think. What would you like us to talk about? Ask us the questions, the hot questions that you want answers to, and we'll try as much as possible to get them answered. My name is Tochukwu with Ramosoflagosrealty. Prince Eddie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to bring this back to the table.